What's shaking, my friends? My name is Shay. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about my December TBR. So for the month of December, my book club is doing a Roll the Dice TBR challenge. If you don't know what Roll the Dice is, it is basically where you come up with categories and you put them on the board. You put some books underneath the categories. You roll a dice. Whatever number that lands on, that's the book you're going to read. And then you erase that book and you pick another book that will fit that category. I have 5 categories that I'm going to be using for my Roll the Dice TBR. One is sequels. The next is fantasy, of course. Also an ARC category, mystery thriller category, and a romance category. So I'm going to get into this and I am going to show you guys what I plan to fill up my board with initially and what I plan to replace some of those books with once I roll them. In the month of December, I will be posting a video every week that shows you my rolls and a little bit about the books that I'm reading, and I'm very excited about it. So, without further ado, and please let me apologize in advance, I don't know much about these books, as I don't know much about any book that I read, but let's get started. So, for the sequel category, of course, there are several sequels that I want to read. I may even play Roll the Dice TBR challenge for 3 weeks, and then if I don't ever roll these sequels, I will then proceed to read said sequels I'm really excited about. So, the first sequel that I am excited about, and I don't have it, it's not on my doorstep yet, so I will hold up the second book in the series, and that is Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. I have read both of these books pretty recently, the first one and the second one, and I am very anticipating the third one. I gave these first 2 5 stars. I won't bother in going what it's about, but look it up. It's fantastic, and I can't wait to continue on. However, the books are pretty chunky. I think the third one's even chunkier than the first 2, but I am looking forward to reading that. Another book, which, spoiler alert, for my November reading, I am going to be reading The Nemesis by S.J. Kincaid. Really want to get back into this series. It starts with The Diabolic. The second book was The Empress, and then the last book is The Nemesis, and I won't bother going again. Look this up. It's a sci-fi, very political based sci-fi, and I have thoroughly enjoyed my time reading this. And of course, the third book that I'm going to put for my initial under sequels is going to be Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson. I pre-ordered this book, which means I am super excited to read it. This starts with Skyward. Again, I'm not going to bother going through what it's about. I'm quite sure you know what it's about by now, but it is a sci-fi adventure following Spitza and the Doomslug, and that's all you need to know. So looking forward to this. Now, there are some books that I am going to look to replace these with, and one of those books is Proven Guilty by Jim Butcher. I would like to continue my journey into the Dresden Files. Again, this just follows a wizard, and he's doing wizardly things, and he is saving the world, okay? And then the next book that I'm going to slot in for a replacement for the sequel category is Shadow Black by Sebastian de Castell. Spoiler alert, I read Spellslinger unexpectedly in the month of November and loved it, and want to continue on quite quickly because I enjoyed it. Now, for the fantasy category, here where it gets kind of into books I don't know what they're about. So the first one I'm going to put on that TBR is going to be Fable by Adrienne Young. I have read some of Adrienne Young's previous works, and I have to tell you, I was not that impressed. But number one, is this cover not the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen? Like, I mean, it is gorgeous. Even though we hate these printed on stickers, this is a super gorgeous book, and I'm intrigued. So, this follows a girl whose dad is fixing to tell you, she is the daughter of the most powerful trader in the Narrows, and basically her mother dies, and then the day after her mother dies, her father leaves her on this island with little food, and it's a hostile island, and she has to learn to survive it, and she is hell-bent on revenge for her dad, so she is trying to get back to him to show him who she really is and that she's just a badass female. So I am looking forward to it. I've heard great things. I don't get along with C books a lot, but I'm looking forward to this, and maybe this will change my luck with C books. Another book that I have slated to read for the fantasy is finally Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett. I have owned this book for quite a long time. I have heard lots of things spoken about it, and I just have never picked it up. Of course, it's kind of a heist story. She has been, I guess, hired out to steal something, and she doesn't know that it's a super powerful magical item or whatever, and then everybody, of course, tries to come after her and the item, and I'm looking forward to it. I have heard mixed things about it. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I cannot wait to get into it. It's, like I said, it's one that I've owned for a very long time, and I just don't know why I have not picked it up yet. Another one that I'm going to read that I own on my Kindle, but I don't own physically is The Bone Shard Daughter. That's by Andrew Stewart, and let me get to for decades. His mastery of bone shard magic powering the animal-like constructs that maintain law and order. But now his rule is failing, and revolution is sweeping across the Empire's many islands. Lynn is the Emperor's daughter and spends her days trapped in a palace of locked doors and dark secrets. When her father refuses to recognize her as heir to the throne, she vows to prove her worth by mastering the forbidden art of bone shard magic. Yet such power carries a great cost, and when the revolution reaches the gates of the palace, Lynn must decide how far she's willing to go to claim her birthright and save her people. So the sequel's coming out, I think, this month of November, and so I want to get to that first book. I've heard nothing but great things. Super, super, super excited. So my backups for that category include the first book in Theft of Swords, which is the Crown Conspiracy. I'm just going to be reading not the whole bind up, but the first book, and I'm really excited. First of all, I love friend groups, and I have heard Royce and Hadrian are superb friend group. So basically, they are hired to pilfer a famed sword. What appears to be just a simple job finds them framed for a murder of the king and trapped in a conspiracy that uncovers a plot far greater than the mere overthrow of a tiny kingdom. I have wanted to read this a very long time. I have read so many and watched so many interviews with Michael J. Sullivan, and I do not know why I have not picked up one of his books yet. I've adored him in every interview that I have seen, and I am very excited to dive into Theft of Swords. Another book that I'm going to be reading is The Prison Healer by Lynette Nani. I don't know how you say her name. 17-year-old Kiva Meriden has spent the last 10 years fighting for survival in the notorious death prison, Zelandov, working as the prison healer. When the rebel queen is captured, Kiva is charged with keeping the terminally ill woman alive long enough for her to undergo the trial by ordeal, a series of elemental challenges against the torments of air, fire, water, and earth assigned to only the most dangerous of criminals. Then, a coded message from Kiva's family arrives containing a single order: "Don't let her die, we are coming." Aware that the trials will kill the sickly queen, Kiva risks her own life to volunteer in her place. If she succeeds, both she and the queen will be granted their freedom, but no one has ever survived. With an incurable plague sweeping Zelandov, a mysterious new inmate fighting for Kiva's heart, and a prison rebellion brewing, Kiva can't escape the terrible feeling that her trials have only just begun. So I am excited to read it, and it is on its way to me. I ordered this book because it had such positive reviews, and I loved the cover because I'm a sucker for pretty covers, and so I'm excited to get into that one. Now, my next book kind of category is ARCs. So I'm very behind on ARCs, and it is guilty in my soul. So I have decided not to take on any more ARCs in the year of 2022. I have taken on some ARCs that I will read, but I do not want to get any more ARCs so that I don't feel guilty because I'm behind on this one. So the one that I have listed in my original 11 choices is The Hand of the Sun King by J.T. Greathouse. I know that I had this on last month's November's TBR, but I didn't get to it. So imagine that. So synopsis says, "My name is Wyn Alder. My name is Foolish Cur. All my life, I have been torn between two legacies, that of my father, whose roots trace back to the right hand of the emperor, that of my mother's family, who reject the oppressive empire and embrace the resistance. I can choose between them, between protecting my family or protecting my people, or I can search out a better path, a magical path, filled with secrets unbound by empire or resistance, which could shake my world to its very foundation. But my search for freedom will entangle me in a war between gods. So it sounds interesting. I've heard people go both ways. They really, really love it. And then people really, really don't like it. The reason why I can't get through arcs very fast is because I have learned to be an audiobook reader. And then it is very hard for me to read a book without an audio. So, of course, just reading a physical copy takes me a lot longer. And I just prefer audiobooks over physical. So that's another reason why I'm going to stop doing some arcs. So an arc that I have in backup is Iron Widow. This came out in September as well. I think The Hand of the Sun King came out either August or September, and then Iron Widow came out at the end of September, and I just didn't get to it. I don't know how to pronounce the author's name, so I'm not even going to try. Okay. The boys of Hoxia dream of pairing up with girls to pilot chrysalises, giant transforming robots that can battle the mecha aliens that lurk beyond the Great Wall. It doesn't matter that the girls often die from the mental strain. When 18-year-old Zetian offers herself up as a concubine pilot, it's to assassinate the ace male pilot responsible for her sister's death. But she gets her vengeance in a way nobody expected. She kills him through the psychic link between pilots and emerges from the cockpit unscathed. She is labeled an Iron Widow, a much feared and much silenced kind of female pilot who can sacrifice boys to power up chrysalises instead. To tame her unnerving yet invaluable mental strength, she is paired up with Li Shimin, the strongest and most controversial male pilot in Hoxia. But now that Zetian has had a taste of power, she will not cower so easily. She will miss no opportunity to leverage her combined might and infamy to survive attempt after attempt on her life. And yada yada. And it sounds very, very intriguing. I just have not been able to get to the arc. Again, I gravitate more towards audiobooks. And so that's why I stopped requesting arcs. Another arc that I have is If This Gets Out by Sophie Gonzalez and Cale Dietrich, and I love Sophie Gonzalez to death. And so this is a queer romance, and that's really all that I'm going to say about that. I'm very much looking forward to it. I've had the arc for a long time. It comes out actually coming up in December, possibly into November. I can't remember, but it's coming out soon. So I will let you guys know what I think about that if I get to it. My next category is mystery thrillers, and I know nothing about the books that I'm about to pick. I rarely buy mystery thrillers anymore, so these are literally the only ones I have left on my shelves. So what I'm going to start out with is 2 books under this category, and that is going to be The Widow, again, trash, I had a sticker, The Widow by Fiona Barton. I can't remember which one I read. The Suspect. Yeah, I read The Suspect a few months ago and thought it was okay, and I'm going to now pick up The Widow. It is blurred by Stephen King. Basically, I like to go into my thrillers blind, so I'm not going to tell you what this is about, but looking forward to it. And the next one is a book that I've never heard anybody talk about. I just read it, I think when I was just reading back when I didn't know BookTube, and I just read literally the backs of books to figure out if it was something I was going to be interested in. I found this one intriguing, so I picked it up, and that is Pretending to Dance by Diane Chamberlain. And a lot of people have read Diane Chamberlain. I think The Dream Daughter is one of her most popular books, but I'm looking forward to this one, and don't know what it's about, but looking forward to it. And then my backups are another book I've heard no one talk about, He Said, She Said by Erin Kelly. Another book that I picked up from the bookstore just by, oh my gosh, reading the back of the book. So, yeah, looking forward to reading it. And then my other backup is on Kindle, and it's The Vanishing Girls by Lisa Reagan, I think. It's a detective thriller. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I don't normally read detective point of view books, but I'm going to read that one, maybe. And then my final category is romance, and my 2 books that are on The original category TBR is going to be The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, which I just recently purchased because everybody was raving about it. So, and the hold on my library was like a million years long. So I got this. I have no idea what it's about. I think it's kind of like an enemies to lovers, possibly. I don't know. Something to do with the chemistry lab, clearly, because it's chemistry bottles. But looking forward to it. And then the next one that I have that is on the original Roll That Dice TBR is going to be The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. I heard that this is very hard-hitting contemporary romance, and I've read the other first two books in this series, which is the Kiss Quotient and The Bride Test, and so then this is The Heart Principle. I've read the other two. Looking forward to this one. Don't know what it's about, but I heard it's not really it is a romance, but more towards heavier topics, which I tend to gravitate towards those anyway and really love them. I like hard-hitting topics in my romances, so I'm excited. The two books that I have chosen to fill that place is one is called Fix Her Up, which I have a physical copy somewhere, but I have no earthly clue, idea where it is. I couldn't find it. Don't really know much about it, except it's a romance. The guy gets with the girl. I don't. Also, Radiance by Grace Draven, which is kind of like an alien human romance, which I've never read one, so that's super exciting. I'm ready to dive into that. But anyways, that is all that I'm going to put for now on this TBR, but tune into my videos in December where I'm rolling the dice and picking the books, because you never know. I may get one category 50,000 times in a row and I have to come up with more books to read, and so it makes me kind of nervous, but I am going to go with it, and I'm going to end the year with a bang, hopefully. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I will see you next time, hopefully in December. Thank y'all for watching.